You know, I like doing these without, like, scripts, but the problem is I just have no idea what to say at the beginning. Today is a different kind of video, although I think I mentioned in the last video that I was going to be doing this. About a month ago, at this point, I did a game jam. It was the... what was it? Hold on. What was it? Oh yeah, the Summer Slow Jam, with the main focus being a puzzle game. Before this, I'd never done a puzzle game, so I think it's a factor that definitely roped me into doing this one. The theme for this jam was also very cool. It was chain reaction. I remember when I was first looking at this, I thought the theme was so cool and I really wanted to do something kind of crazy with it, because I felt like with chain reaction you could do, I don't know, but like something that probably would have taken more than the allotted time, which was a week. So I had to keep that in mind when I was thinking of what to do. I think I did actually get the idea that I went with pretty quickly. I think originally I was just thinking of some kind of like, you know, ball of some kind being on a grid, or like multiple balls that would kind of bounce into each other and hit each other. They have like a set path that they go on. And when they, you know, hit each other, interact with each other, they keep moving in their set paths, and you kind of set them all up in a certain way so that their set paths kind of interact with each other. They keep making each other bounce around. And then, like, the goal would be for them all to, like, fall off of whatever grid you're on. Originally, I think when I was picturing this in my head, each object's movement was just going to be one movement. Like, they'd move once, and then, you know, that would hit one object, which would cause it to move, and then that would make another one move, like, bonk, 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 like that. But then, once I started the project, and, you know, was coding it a bit, testing it out, I realized that if you only have one movement, like, you can't really do jack shit. Because, you know, you make one guy move, and then the other one's just left there, just stuck. And this was kind of important because I had finished coding everything for it to work with just one movement in, like, a pretty decent amount of time. Like, usually I'm pretty slow with the coding, or like I take way too much time. And for once I was like, you know, okay, I've got like the main game loop for the most part like done on the first day with plenty of time to spare. Like, hello, something worked out for once. And then, you know, I tested it a little bit and I was like, oh, it's got to have an extra movement, but you know, how much harder could it be to make it move twice instead of once? And then I think it took another, like, day or two, and, you know, whatever, I'm not mad or anything, it's fine. No, but I'm glad I did that, though, because once I'd actually added multiple movements, then I was kind of, like, really hooked on this idea as far as a puzzle game goes. Because suddenly there's, like, just an infinite amount of stuff you could do as far as what the puzzles could be, or, like, what they could look like. If anything, because of how open it was, I think that made it harder for me to come up with levels later. I think I only finished 4 in the time, because I kind of assumed I could just knock out levels pretty quickly, but I mean, it was kind of hard to, like, come up with them, because I kind of had to, like, reverse engineer half of the levels while I was making them, or, like, thinking about them in my head. Spending as much time as I did, though, on the coding kind of sucked, because I was plenty aware of how much time I was going to take on other things. In the last game jam I did, which was started this year, was probably the most complete game that I had done. And, you know, it looked pretty good, and it played pretty good and all that, but it had, like, no sound effects or anything, because I spent so much time on everything else. And I was like, oh yeah, I can just knock out sound effects in less than a day, it'll be fine. And I think I spent that whole day setting up the music and then just submitting it without sound effects and being very sad. So I was like, yeah, I gotta kick everything else into high gear if I want to be able to finish this. The frog theming had been lingering in my head for most of the time up to this point, and not because I wanted to do it. If anything, I kind of wanted to avoid it. I don't know if it would overused is the right word, or is just as much as like for this kind of game, or for what it was, I feel like it would have been the easy way out as far as theming went. I really, at the time, couldn't think of anything else. But I really wanted to do something else, and I was just like, I don't have enough time to just sit here and think of something, so we're going with frogs. But it definitely did work for the game, as far as, you know, lily pads is like a grid, you know, all the backgrounds. I'm still a big fan of the frog itself being this like blob frog creature. I had been wanting to, if I had more time at the end, to add in a couple like, you know, funny idle animations, maybe some little Easter egg animations, more stuff to just make the frog feel more alive. I think in the end, you know, I didn't have enough time, so it just felt kind of dead, just kind of there. But yeah, the art for this one came out okay. I kind of didn't like the backgrounds I made, mainly just because I felt like I could have done them better, but I knew I didn't have the time to redo them. But in the end, I just had to get through all of the art, because that was going to be the other thing that took especially long. So for the amount of time that I spent on it, I think everything came out pretty good. And then, as per usual, I saved the music and sound effects and all that for last. Like, I'm not a musician or musically talented in any way, but I still wanted to make my own music and sound effects. I couldn't tell you why, and yeah, obviously that slowed me down a lot. So this time I was just like, you know what, fuck that, we're going on the internet and borrowing stuff from others. I will say, I grabbed 2 different songs for this game that I just found online. Big fan of the title screen music I got, and then also, dude, I cannot tell you how much I love the music that plays just during the game itself. I don't know, I just listened to that for like an hour or so. I don't know, man. When I found that one, I was like, this is it right here. It's very soothing, very trance-like. And then, I mean, that was about it, because I think I did all that in like second to last day or last day. And then, you know, a couple finishing touches, made sure I added a tutorial, you know, wrapped it all in a neat bow, and then shipped it off to itch.io. I had also, before I submitted it, I got my friends to play test it a bit, which was extremely helpful because I realized I was making the game a little bit too difficult. Like, as far as how to, like, solve the puzzles, there isn't really a good way. Because what I realized from their playtesting was that, you know, you move all these frogs onto the grid and try and arrange them so that they all knock each other into the pond or river or whatever, I don't know. But how it works is you pick one frog to start the chain reaction and knock all the other ones out. And what I never really realized as the person who came up with these solutions is that if you don't really know which one starts first, it is very hard to figure out where to start and, like, solve the puzzle just in general. And I mean, I made them a bit easier, just based on their feedback, but I wasn't really able to fix that kind of big flaw in my game by the time the deadline came around. As of right now, it is fixed. I updated the game a little bit, so now the starting frog is already in the place it should be, in a fixed spot. So you already know which one you're starting with, and then just based on that, you move all the other ones into place and figure out where they go. And that makes it a lot easier, and also kind of, I guess, a bit more how I, in my head, wanted it to be solved. It's just a bit annoying that I actually figured that out after the jam concluded, but, you know, what are you gonna do? But yeah, I mean, I submitted on time, so, you know, all worked out in the end. As far as what came after that, I will say, I mean, I joined this jam because it was about at the time that I wanted to do a jam. You know, had a good amount of people doing it, cool theme. But the one thing I'll say about this jam in specific that I didn't really like was that there was no real, like, voting period or anything like that. Like, you know, most jams, everyone will submit, and then, you know, everyone plays each other's games, give them some ratings, and there's, like, a winner and all that. And I think if anything, that incentivizes people to play each other's games and, you know, interact with each other a bit more. But that didn't happen with this jam. You know, everyone just submitted it, and that was kind of it. And, you know, I tried to play as many of the games in there as I could, and if anything, some of them were very cool. I will say, if you guys feel so inclined, I will say check out, which one is it? Yeah. Seeds of Fury, I liked a lot. I thought it was a very cool idea for a game. Obviously, because it's for a jam, I'm assuming it's probably not going to get continued that much, but I did like the idea a lot. I was a big fan. But yeah, I mean, I didn't actually get around to playing, like, all the games. Like, I played a good amount of them, but not all of them. So yeah, I guess I was a bit disappointed by that, but I think, you know, I'm still pretty proud of how the game came out. That's the one thing I will say. I'm happy that as I keep doing game jams and making games, the quality of the game I can make within the time frame, at least to me, feels like it's getting better and better. You know, it's always a good thing to see. So yeah, I mean, that's the, albeit pretty quick, kind of recap-ish story of making Leapfrogs, the video game, in a week. As of me recording this voiceover, I do this before I start editing anything. This took place a month ago, and I'm praying to God that this only takes me like 2 weeks to edit. But I already know I shouldn't be placing any kind of even remotely realistic expectations on myself, because I will fail them. I'm still thinking about it. It is crazy how long it took me to finish the last video I made, because I remember I had been talking about in that video a lot of things that I was like looking forward to happening, that, you know, were going to happen soon. And by the time I finished, like, all of those had long passed. You know, I'd already done them. So yeah, hopefully this comes out within a reasonable time frame. I'm not sure what'll be the next thing that I put on here. I don't know. I'm probably gonna try and work on some, like, short animation stuff, so that might end up here. I don't know if I want to do, like, another drawing video like I did. I don't know. I think the most realistic thing would be probably another game jam. I do want to do another one sometime, so I guess look forward to that. And I don't know. Suppose if you guys have anything to say in the comments, maybe about what I should be doing better. I still, once again, have literally no idea what I'm doing. And then will gladly take suggestions. But yeah, I think that's all I got. If my upload schedule wasn't horrible enough as is, I have a feeling I'm not going to get anything out until school starts, so it'll get even worse. But, you know, if you're here, keep an eye open. We'll be back one of these days. Probably. I don't know. But yeah, go watch something else, or go do something else with your life. Goodbye. Get out of here. Adios.